Okay guys, so today in this video I'm going to share with you a simple idea that is going to make a massive difference to your downswing in particular. And I know this because it worked for a student of mine, Andrew, in a recent golf lesson. So you will see some of before and afters, obviously during that session, and some of the drills that I got him doing as well. But there is a famous golf coach who has some material on social media, who goes by the name of Pete Cowan, who talks a lot about this idea as well. Now, what you want to do in your golf swing is you might need to be making swing changes. So the way that you hit the golf ball might not be the most efficient way, hence you have lessons, hence you get given advice. But one of the things that concerns me when I work with students, that I'm always trying to keep an eye on, is to make sure that they don't lose sight of the idea of it still becoming a golf swing. And that's why I really like Pete Cowan's material, because he keeps things really simple and he talks a lot about an important relationship in the golf swing, which we're going to talk about now. So Pete Cowan talks a lot about the lead-arm relationship, and he talks a lot about sort of loading. He talks about loading the lead arm in the downswing and then moving your body correctly so you can release that energy accordingly. Now, I think a real simple way to interpret this information is to imagine if you were going to throw the golf club. So if I turn the club upside down first and foremost, so I'm holding the ferrule on. This is a drill that I did with Andrew and I do with a lot of my students, and what I do is I encourage them to do this motion here. So you can just relax your lead arm. I'm not too concerned whether your lead arm bends in the backswing, but what I want you to do is I want you to imagine that you're going to throw your club down the driving range. Now, what you tend to find is most students move this way, which is the correct way. And the correct way is twofold. The first one is they stay downward facing. Okay, so they stay downward facing. They don't do this. And this was Andrew. Andrew, when he was hitting the golf ball, was sort of stopped rotating, and that made him get really scoopy. So the first thing I was trying to do is get him to keep that body, the front part of his chest, more downward, so he was kind of covering the ball. Not leaning back, covering the golf ball. And this is, again, you know, Andrew wouldn't throw a club down the range like so. He would throw it like so. He would move in towards that lead side. Like I say, a big thing that Pete Cowan talks a lot about as well, directing the energy of the club through towards the direction where you want the ball to be going. The second thing that happens very naturally with this exercise, or with a suggestion, it starts to happen more naturally. Let me do it wrong first. Okay. This is what Andrew did a little bit as well in the lesson. Let me do it correctly. Let me see if you guys know the difference. Let's do two more. 1, 2, and let's do one more wrong one. Now, some of you would picked up on it, maybe some of you didn't, but what you want to do is the same as if you were going to throw a ball. It's a sequence. So you want to get the feeling that when you understand about staying more downward, you need to make sure that your chest is moving first. See the way my chest is pointing towards the target before I let my left arm get to the bottom of that golf ball. Now, this is easier to do if I just change around for a moment and do right hand only. What we want to do is we want to feel like the chest is open, so it's to the left of the ball before my hands get to the back of it. And this was the big thing that I was talking about in Andrew's session. This is why we started to get some really good swing changes, because I was getting him to rotate his body open, which is then creating space for his hands and arms to come into, as opposed to previously it would have looked more like so. That body was getting much more static, which meant that the arms were getting too scoopy. So if you find in your golf swing that you are a little stuck in terms of you feel a little bit chicken wingy, you've had a lesson and you feel a little bit chicken wingy, or if you notice you're a bit tense on the course, then what I'd get you to do is just do some lead hand only swings. And when you're doing it, you just want to feel as though you are turning your chest into your arm. And that's what I mean about Pete Cowan talking about loading the shoulder. And you also just want to make sure that your rotation is guiding the club in the direction where you want it to go, so you're not moving this way. And if you do enough of those drills, you'll then be able to transfer that into towards your golf swing, which I'll demonstrate now. Try and get that same feeling here of just rotating my chest into my arm. So if I do it now, club head end, that way, you'll still be able to see the way I keep rotating that body through. And that just gives me so much space. So I almost get that same feeling as if I was hitting it lead hand only, like so. Now, with some of my students, some of my online students in particular, I try and get them brave enough to hit some shots lead hand only. Yes, it tests your coordination, but I tell you what, when you start making a contact with it lead hand only, you're going to be really surprised in terms of how good that's actually going to feel. And it's going to make a big difference towards your golf swing. So Pete Cowan obviously knows this, and he talks about it as a loading and talks about releasing the energy through the ball. We know this, and I think this is a really good drill that you should be practicing and getting better at. I'll see you soon.